Welcome! If you're new here, my name is Brenna. I am your discerning of vocation as DM, and welcome to Tales from the Catacombs. This is our tabletop RPG adventure that we are thrilled to share with you. This game uses the Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition D20 system and rules, and the setting is a homebrew based off of the rock album Razia's Shadow by Forgive Durden. We have a brief introduction to the setting that you can read at your leisure, and I hope you will, so you can be as immersed in the world as our players are. Without further ado, please enjoy this episode of Razia's Shadow, a 1,000-year interlude. Let's recap. Session 7, Crowning Achievement. The novices played 2 more rounds of Truth or Dare, unveiling thoughts on other important matters like ferals and siblings and lost loved ones. Beau turned their attention back to the unspoken matter at hand, the unprotected crown in the dark temple below their feet. They spent the majority of the day in preparation to allow Ste'yn the time needed to concentrate on a set of spells that would help them in the hostile environment of the cavern. The wait gave Beau time to address Snow about his thoughts on the crown that he freed by pouring blood onto the protective embers. They took different mental paths, but reached the same conclusion, that the crown and the voice surrounding it were worth exploring. After preparations were complete, the novices returned below ground and headed straight back to the throne room. They were able to spot writing in Infernal, without the distraction of the burning boulder in the center. Beau took note of what each message said, but didn't share his knowledge with the others. Ste'yn, Beau, and Snow began their observation of the crown. It let off an intriguing aura that snared Ste'yn, unbeknownst to the others. She insisted that she could watch the crown while they finished exploring the second passage in the caverns. Snow wasn't convinced of her sudden change of heart, and managed to swipe the crown back from her, helping to bring her back to her senses. The rest of the cavern didn't hold much treasure, but it did assure them that they had stumbled upon a dark place of worship with disturbing rituals. Up above, the night seemed darker, despite how little time seemed to pass. The novices were thrown into further confusion when none other than Captain Nora Isalin appeared. When asked why she was there, she informed them that she was looking for them and glad they were alive. She suspected the worst, since they were 2 days late to return. So, Captain Nora Isalin had joined you inside of the hovel. You guys had begun this conversation about not being where she suspected you to be, and you being confused that she was appearing here all of a sudden. So she's looking at the three who are visible, as Snow had gone invisible previously. She's looking at the 3 of you, as confused as you appear to be. So she looks expectantly at the 3 who are here. I imagine start from the beginning.
Well, how about you start from your end? Because as far as we knew, we were supposed to be relieved of this place. How did we go missing for 2 days if someone was supposed to come here and see us?
That's what I would have liked to know.
So
I suppose that's fair enough. Well, so she begins explaining. She says, your assignment was to stand watch here at Undra's old outpost for a day. Kumugal and Kalain would relieve you that evening. And it was that simple. It was meant to be that simple. Just a simple teaching of patience. But that was 4 days ago. And when you weren't back in the morning, 2 days ago, well, I imagined you were still with Kumugal and Kalain. As they are wardens, if there's more they have to teach you, then who am I to stop them? I did ask for their assistance. But by yesterday morning, something felt off. And I spoke to their captain, Sir Admiral Haste. And he then decided to confirm with me that Kumugal in fact had returned, but he was injured. He said something about an ambush. And for someone like him, a half-orc, of his stature and his skill, to return the way he did, something wasn't right. So I could only imagine some bandits, some detestable type. But once I knew he was back and you were not, I made my way. You're telling me you only spent a day here?
Well, we got here yesterday, so yeah, basically a day. We got here.
From what it seems to us, we got here yesterday. And we're planning to stay 2 days waiting for Komugol to relieve us.
2 days?
Well, he told us 2 days.
Foolish boy.
Oh, I thought he was skilled.
That doesn't make you any less a fool. He can have a temper, I imagine.
Just a small one.
Well, I hope it didn't cause him any harm. He made it back, but Kalain did not.
Meaning like she died, or she's just missing too?
I cannot confirm. All I know is she's missing.
Komugol didn't say what happened?
I wasn't privy if he said anything more. He spoke directly with his captain.
And the captains don't share those kind of details, like, oh, this person got killed, oh, this person's been kidnapped, oh, this person's over here.
I think we're getting off topic. If we're going to talk about what we know happened and compare it with what you have just said happened, probably Ste'yn's gonna glance around, figure out where Snow went off to before we do that.
And as you say that, you all hear this kind of thumping sound towards the wall, towards that entrance that you had come up. And you do see Snow. The invisibility is dropped. And as you see him, he's on the ground. You see him kind of half crawling, half stumbling out of the up from that stairwell. You see that there is this, it looks like on first blush that he's a little pale. There's blood on his hands, on his neck. You see some blood under his eyes. There is this kind of inky black stain that's going through his otherwise snow white hair. It's sort of like in an outline along his head where you might see a circlet might sit, the edge of a crown might sit. And from there, it almost looks like it's sunken and streaking like through his skin, through his veins. His mouth kind of bobs a little bit, but you don't hear any words. And the moment that he appears, immediately Captain Nora is looking his way and hurrying his way. The door opens from the outside, from the hovel. The door opens and a man comes in, has kind of a darker complexion, dark hair, a beard. He's in this plate armor, and it appears to be who she might have signaled before. She had whistled when she first got in and spotted you. It appears to be he's the one that she had called, as if perfect timing for him to arrive. She calls to him, "Vaughn, here now, the three of you, outside right now." And you see her, she starts to cough as she's standing over Snow. You hear a quick, "Get outside immediately. There are wagons waiting for you. We're getting you back to the Peace District immediately."
But, all right.
Go, that is an order.
Viola's gonna go out, like, through that little room that Buttercup's in and grab Buttercup and take her out.
Can't forget Buttercup.
You can't forget Buttercup.
So
that's so important.
That's what matters right now.
Are there people by these carts when we walk out? Do we see people by them, or is it just the carts are there?
Are you guys heading outside?
Following orders.
We've been ordered.
I don't know. Sometimes you guys don't like to follow
Well,
orders.
no, I'm wondering because I might not entirely follow orders.
That's fair. So you get outside. You do see that there are a few people out there dressed in kind of like common armor that have begun heading in this direction. And you do see a few of these. You see a few carts, these wagons. They're long. They look like they could hold up to like 6 people in these wagons, as if a team had been brought here. You see a few of them. They have walls. There's a tarp overhead. They're all hitched to a few horses, and you see some guards that are standing by them. They're probably like just at the edge of where our map is.
So, Beau's going to go to his bow bush and enter sneak. And what I'm trying to do is make him sneak to go to a spot of the house where they wouldn't see. Then he's going to climb up the wall because we already know that the roof is not complete because he wants to get an angle to see what's happening inside.
We did determine the roof was not quite
Correct.
complete, didn't we? Fair enough.
Watch Beau collapse in through the roof.
You said you were trying to sneak up there,
Correct.
unseen by anyone?
Correct. That's what I'm trying to do.
Okay, go ahead,
So
roll your stealth.
I go to the bow bush, and I get
From the bow
my
bush.
worst stealth so far in this whole campaign.
What did we get?
Ooh.
Oh,
I got a 14.
Okay, a 14?
Yeah, I mean, it's not
All right.
awful, but it's not great.
Okay. You make your way to the bow bush, and then you wanted to go from there to a tree?
No, so from there, I just wanted to kind of break line of vision from where they could see me. Then I was just going to climb up the wall of the house and then look over from there. A little hovel wall.
You go behind the bow bush, and what are the others doing?
Ste'yn looks at Beau, thinks about chastising him, and decides not to because
Wait,
she's
can you
just
see
very
me?
concerned.
Can you see me? Because I have I have a psionic dice, so I'm stealthing from everyone.
Are
So
you-
unless you can see it.
If you're trying to, I thought it was just for NPCs.
No, I don't want Ste'yn stopping me.
Okay, then I would have you. I'm sorry. I assumed it was NPCs. You didn't want to see you. If you don't want anyone to see you, I'll have the others roll perception. Not you, Snow.
No.
No,
Snow's
you
barely
stay put, poor
conscious and
thing.
he just sees Beau poking his head.
Covered in blood and inky black
Viola
horror.
did not see a thing.
All right. Well, I have
I'm just
Ste'yn
no,
got
dying
to
here on the floor, and I'm
yeah,
like,
I have no
"Beau."
way of getting past that. So
Snow with his half-dead arm just goes. I'm sorry.
Damn.
Pull it
Yeah.
back. This is serious. Snow might be dying. This is serious. Okay.
all right, so Ste'yn can see it. But you said the
Okay.
guards can't, at the very least. He managed to sneak.
I didn't say one way or another.
Okay, well, if they can see me, I want to be able to roll a dice. That's why I'm asking. So I
I
get to know
see.
if they fail.
Your
I mean, if I
psionic
fail.
dice make me want to. Anyway, go ahead, roll your psionic die.
All right.
Psionic dice
Again,
are
it's
so
only
meta.
a 1. Okay, I got 15. Did I pass?
Yeah, you don't. They appear to not notice or care that you have vanished from their sight. They are simply a few of them as you come out of as they see the door open to the hovel again. A few of them raise their hands in your direction to guide you to their wagons. Beau, you're going to climb up.
Yep.
Okay, go ahead. Give me an acrobatics check.
Do I still have to do that with spider climb? Because
Does that give you-
yeah, I can walk just right up a wall and I won't fall.
Oh, it's like a particular proficiency.
Yeah, I could just.
Okay.
I don't
I
even need my
understand.
hands to climb. I could go
I
upside down.
understand.
I can go all around.
Hang from one hand just for fun.
Yeah, it's
Gotcha.
it's my regular movement speed.
Perfect. I take it back. You do not need to roll. Go ahead. You climb as high as you need to till you find a break in the roofing of the hovel, which is easy enough. The whole thing looks decrepit. Honestly, you're probably a little bit surprised that it's holding your weight anyway. It has that very weak feel, and you kind of have to go a little bit slowly just to make sure you're feeling out proper places that are not going to give way. A couple of the pieces of wood kind of creak under just the standard weight of anything. But you do manage to get your way to the top, to a portion where the wall is broken or the roofing is broken, you can see through. And what you see as we return to Snow is Captain Nora and this other, appears to be some sort of acolyte in his armor, and you see sort of, you can't quite see from your angle, but when he had walked in, you had a brief glimpse of some sort of token that was hanging on his neck, which you can imagine, as other acolytes have, is something akin to their god. You see them hovering over Snow. Snow, above you, you see Nora. She's observing as the acolyte kind of holds his hands over you. You feel a kind of warmth as some type of magic and kind of covers your body. Different areas of your body kind of light up a little bit, from your hands, your feet, your toes. And then he sits back, and there's this frustrated look on his face. And Nora looks to him inquisitively. What is it? What's happened? He just kind of shakes his head. Whatever it is, I don't know what it is. I'm sorry, Captain. And Nora's shaking her head, and she's looking the least professional you've probably ever seen her look. Generally, generally you've seen her with this, at least some kind of air of coolness that's like a professionalism, and it's her knuckles are white, and she's still, every now and then you hear this cough before she shakes her head and says, "We need to leave then." And he nods. He agrees. He says, we could take him to Saker's Keep. Saker's Keep will have the answer. Goaro will know. He has a strong build about him, and he kind of easily scoops you up and takes you outside.
Can Beau
That's no major
see
feat.
can Beau see if Snow still has like his pack and all of that?
Yes,
Everything
I
you
have my
recall-
backpack. Why do you
yeah.
ask?
Well,
Everything you recall that you had seen on him before, you see.
okay.
Well, you see his pack, yeah. His pack, his cloak, everything is there. But you
Does
can
he
see...
Is there anything that he can see that we might have forgotten since we got pushed out of there, like item-wise, like about the axe or anything like that?
You don't see anything left behind.
Okay, so
Bedroll.
everything's been picked up. Cool.
My bedroll is still there.
The
We
bedroll
can get
got
you a
left
new bedroll.
behind. You need a new bedroll. Clearly the bedroll was what was wrong.
Grab my blanket for me, please.
But when they come through the door, Beau is going to approach them because he's just gonna climb down. Nora, is it possible that we separate him from maybe his pack for the time being? There was a lot of things down there that he grabbed that had a weird energy about it. It's probably not helping whatever this is all going on here. So if we could just separate the two of them for a little bit of time, maybe put that in a spare wagon, so that way we still have it, but it's not near anybody. I don't know if it's causing anything.
All of us are headed back. We have someone, Von Grissom. He's one of our novice emissaries, and he is incredibly skilled at what he does. If there's anything, you took things.
We can cover that later,
you.
but I'm just saying we should probably separate him from his backpack for the time being.
We can inspect whatever was in there that you might have taken from wherever Snow appeared from, which I would very much like to know, but we'll get those answers soon enough. We'll have Vaughn look at them. This is his area of expertise. Please go into one of the wagons. We're heading out immediately.
It's gonna go off, I guess.
There's like 3 or 4 of these wagons. No.
Actually, was he still holding his staff? Just making sure, because that would be something that if he saw lying on the ground, he would grab for him.
If it were lying on the ground, either Vaughn or Nora would have taken it if he was
Okay.
not able to hold it. Unless he's in like some death.
Well, I didn't know if he was able to crawl up with it. Because he said that he crawled up essentially with it, so I didn't know if he managed
Dragging.
Yeah. Okay.
Basically just dragging the staff.
All right.
I'm not able to hold it, but yeah.
All right. Cool.
So, as long as somebody takes it. If that was lost, I'd be very sad.
It would be sad.
It's my
I'm
defining feature.
honestly, if it came down to it, it could have been left behind if Beau had spotted it and wanted to grab that for him.
Sure, then
I'd be fine.
He would have done that. So
Okay.
he grabbed the staff. He does not grab a bedroll. He does not really see the heightened importance for that.
The bedroll is left behind.
All right, so Beau temporarily has
That's
a
fine.
flower staff.
I hope you use it well.
I don't think he's going to use it at all.
That's too bad. Missed opportunity. I'm sorry. So there were two wagons. I said several, but there were two wagons. So you are guided to one of them. There's the one that's kind of calling you over. You see a kind of copper scaled dragonborn who is also in this pretty decent heavy armor, who calls you over towards him. He nods at each of you as you go inside, but there is a kind of a hurried feeling about his greeting to you all. But he introduces himself as Moonridge, one of the Novice emissaries, and helps you all inside. As you see Snow in Von Grissom's arms being taken into the other wagon, and Captain Nora Isalin following shortly behind them. And there's this kind of tenseness that falls over all of you as the air is just suddenly very different. It went from this is kind of unsettling what you had discovered down in the caverns to what's going on and why does Snow look the way he does. But if there's no other contest to the orders, then
I just want to double check and make sure that when I walked up with Buttercup that they were like putting Buttercup to where she would be coming home with us.
I
Okay.
didn't forget about Buttercup. Definitely not. I had a token for her and everything. It seems that they had anticipated you obviously needed to get here somehow. And there is some kind of additional wagon of sorts that could hold an animal. And the one who helps you as you bring Buttercup over kind of looks at you, looks at the pony, the very young pony, looks back up at you and says, in fact, it's Moonridge. And he looks and he says, "Where's your steed?"
This is her, Buttercup. Her name's Buttercup, and she's a wonderful steed. She did a great job.
She held all of you.
Small but mighty.
We need more of that in our guardianship. All right.
Yeah.
In she goes. Careful now. I'll handle it. I'll handle her. And he, with a gentleness you may not have expected from a dragonborn, guides her inside of this wagon and helps you inside as well. We didn't forget about Buttercup. So the three of you, Viola, Beau, and Ste'yn, are traveling with Moonridge in one wagon. Snow, you are laid down on one of the benches. Kind of, if you're not reacting, you are laid down. Nora is sitting beside you, and Lord Grissom, Von Grissom, is on the other side, as the others who are handling the horses kind of stir on the horses, and away you go. So you begin traveling. It's other than the tenseness in the air, it's a relatively steady trip. Snow, some time is going by. Can you please roll me a charisma saving throw?
16.
Okay. Very good. The entire time that you're laying there, you kind of, well, you sit. You are just kind of blankly observing. In fact, you tell me how your mind is as you're lying on the bench. Your appearance is as it is. Nora is sitting beside you, and you do catch every now and then. It's a quiet ride. Von Grissom is a tempting conversation every now and then, and she, politely responds before it just kind of peters off, and she would glance down at you for a little bit before glancing kind of out one of, like, just towards the door.
Is she still coughing?
Every now and then, yes.
I'm not going to attempt to do anything or say anything.
Just observing.
Yeah.
About an hour goes by. Good on you, laying there. About an hour goes by.
I haven't died of boredom yet.
The boredom's gonna get him before anything else.
This is the most still Snow has ever been while awake.
Poor Snow. It's like, I can't sleep, I'm dying. You hear Nora cough again. Vaughn looks up and responds, this time to it. He had been essentially ignoring it, and this time he responds, and he tells her, I'll alert Saker's Keep to get that tea ready for you. She again looks at him, looks away again. I appreciate it. I'll be out for a week this time. He shakes his head. Give yourself some credit, Captain. This was a minor exposure. You won't be down for more than 2 days, I guarantee it. You've been worse. Nora looks at him. Oh? Clearly, he talks to you far too much. But I'm more concerned for Snow. I hope it wasn't enough to hurt him long term. Whatever that might have been. Wherever they might have been. And Vaughn says, You know this isn't the same situation, correct, my lady? He's definitely spoken to you too much. Yes, I know. I'm a teacher first. It's my job to care. The dark has hurt enough people. And then again, the conversation seems to peter off as Vaughn does not approach the situation again. Or the conversation. Over in the other wagon with the other three, Moonridge, he's kind of like a gentle giant sort. He doesn't seem unfriendly. He just seems professional as he's sitting there and watching the three of you. You're just bumping along on the road. It seems a smoother path than the one you took. The road you took to get here seemed to be one that was a little more like off the beaten trail. And this one seems much more direct. A smoother trail, as if there were a proper road to follow. And he finally looks to the three of you and he kind of smiles a little bit. Well, it seems like you've been in a bit of an adventure. I'm sure your friend will be fine in case you're worried.
Has this
Don't
sort of
say
thing
things that
happened
you can't
before?
back up.
Well, I got you excited. One at a time.
I said don't say things that you can't back up. You know not what the dark has done. We don't either. We can hope, but we do not know.
You are astute. But I also guarantee you that you are in some of the most capable hands here.
Even
we get
capable
him-
hands can make mistakes. Or not be able to do enough.
Snow called me a pessimist.
Your friend is being realistic. There is a lot we don't know, but I assure you right now that my companion is looking over your friend. And in fact, I did not say as much, but it is. Every now and then he is kind of looking over you, Snow, and you'll feel another wave of magic.
Do I heal at all?
Yes, mechanically speaking. And at some point, you do see kind of a small sigh of relief. It doesn't last long, but at some point you see a sigh of relief as Nora looked over you, and at that point the kind of inky blackness seemed to be fading from your skin. She still seems concerned by the blood that's there, but there is that moment of relief.
Do I get a look at the holy symbol that he has?
Give me a moment, and we will determine that. But to the other wagon, I apologize. So Moonridge, he's nodding at the other and tells you that he assures you that your friend is in good hands.
What were you saying, Viola?
I'm just curious how apparently a great place for us to be in terms of Snow getting healed is sending novices to a place like that, and if this has happened before, and if they're always so careless when they're clearing areas.
Well, I'll have to know what you mean by a place like that. Where were you exactly? If not in that cabin, that was expected. That temple ruin, that was expected. It's an old outpost and an old abandoned temple. There wasn't much there that we knew about. What did you see?
There's a whole, abandoned ancient dark...
Ste'yn's gonna put a hand on Viola's shoulder as she starts speaking. I think we prefer to share this once with all proper audiences. Nia that needs to know what we have seen and what we went through. That way, things do not get spun or taken further than they should, or misinterpreted by passage of thoughts from one person to another.
Okay.
I don't want to sound insistent if you are uncomfortable with speaking, but I would be the correct person to speak to. As an emissary for the novices, we're the ones who speak on your behalf to anyone else. We're the ones who would be representing you. So of course we would want to represent you accurately.
Well,
Like Ste'yn said, it probably would be best to also include Nora in the conversation as well, since she is who our original assignment came from.
Shall I get her then?
She's in the other carriage.
Oh, sure, we're not going... It's not a stampede of 50 horses. We could always slow. Just a little.
I mean, you can go ahead and get her. I mean, we might as well get it done now. What else are we doing while we ride on this carriage?
Very good, then. And you see him kind of stand up, and he's a towering height, even for Ste'yn and Viola. He's above them as he stands. And I don't mean above as in haughtiness, but simply taller than. And you see him open the door, and the carriage is moving relatively swiftly, a decent pace, and he opens the door, and he kind of whistles over. The carriage kind of whistles ahead, and the carriage with Snow and the others is a few paces ahead. You hear this whistle, and the carriages begin to slow, and eventually come to a short stop. You hear a door open. Captain Isalin! The novices wish to speak with you. Think they're ready to tell you what has happened? We'll get this sorted out quickly. And Snow, over in your wagon, you see a kind of disturbed-looking Nora as the wagon begins to slow, and her first thought is, we can't possibly be there yet. Here's the calling out. Showboat. And she stands, and she gets out, and she switches wagons. She tells Vaughn, watch him, please. If anything else changes, tell me. He nods, and she goes to the other wagon. She steps in, sees the three of you. She sits opposite you, where Moonridge is sitting. Fair enough, I didn't give you time to speak.
Taking care of our friend took precedence, and we appreciate that.
Absolutely. All right. What happened? Please make it make sense.
Well, actually, for starters, you said that it was cleared before, right? The area? It was secured or something like that?
Yes.
Do you know who was on that team that did that?
No, this would have been ages ago.
Ages ago?
This area is... We wouldn't send novices somewhere that wasn't safe. This area is long since secured. As I told you, this is a test of patience more than anything else. The only thing you were meant to come across, if anything at all, would be wandering animals, nothing worse.
So you've used this location before to test whatever it is you're saying?
Me specifically?
Anyone.
I'm sure they have.
But you're not sure if they have.
I'm more certain than not that they have.
Alright, well, there's a very uncleverly hidden secret door to go down into an area, which is why I'm confused on how nobody's seen it. We saw it the very first day that we were here.
What did you see? A secret door to where?
An underground temple to an unknown deity of the dark or fiend of the dark of some sort.
What?
Yeah, you know, that thing that you saw him crawling up from? Yeah, that was right there. That whole time.
I saw a stairwell. I didn't look closely, I imagine. It's...
Have you never been here? Do you just think that most huts have stairwells in them?
On a glance, it looks like it's leading to a normal basement. But it is not.
You're saying it leads to some underground temple to some deity of the dark?
Something of the dark, whether it be a god of the dark house, their gods like that, or it be a fiend from dark itself. I don't know, but it leads somewhere awful.
What did... Wait, so when you... Did she ever actually separate the pack from Snow?
Anything
So
that belonged to Snow
I'm
was
wondering
in the
which
cabin.
wagon that entered into.
The other.
So
everything
so
that
they
was
didn't
on him.
actually separate him from anything that Beau suggested them doing.
No, it's in his belongings. Like, his belongings were not touched yet. No, they were not.
Well,
No, if you had known that, Beau, you'd be like, why didn't they listen to me? No, they were more focused on him getting where they needed to be. Why they didn't look is up in the air, but you also don't know if they looked or not.
What's the seating arrangement in the carriage right now?
yeah, I feel like it's very tight at this point because you got 3 massive people.
3 Well, it holds like 6
Wow.
to 8.
Also,
Beau just
being
looked
tall
at that.
doesn't mean you have to be massive and
Yeah,
like. hold
I mean,
and
being
stuff.
tall, sure, but you have heavy armor.
She has medium armor on.
Okay,
I don't know
either
who
way,
Viola's sitting next to.
You can sit as you please. I imagine you guys were together on one side and Moonridge was on the other, similar to how it is in the other wagon, but it's entirely up to you how you are seated. I don't have a wagon map. I apologize. I do not have a wagon map. But
well,
how you guys would like to be seated is up to you.
yeah, well, Beau would have picked like a corner or something and not tried being too close to anyone.
Fair. That sounds like Beau.
Ste'yn or Viola would have been fine sitting in the middle or the edge, either one.
Ste'yn probably sat herself in the middle. She's protective right now.
Okay, so Viola's gonna lean over, and first off, would Viola have any idea if does Nora look elvish? I can't remember.
I'll give you a history check. You're looking for specifically what her racial features are?
Yeah,
You can give me a history check.
13.
She looks human. You don't notice her hair is pulled back in the ponytail. You don't notice that she has pointed ears or anything. But from her physical features of slightly tanned skin, but also these kind of like more like thinned out, like almond shaped eyes, you probably recognize her coming from the south, from like Sanaa, in that area.
Viola's gonna lean over to Ste'yn and just whisper in Elvish. First off, she's just gonna ask if Viola speaks Elvish.
You mean Ste'yn?
Ste'yn. Oh my gosh.
2 sessions in a row. We're not getting names right.
Je speak of the Elvish.
Speak of Elvish. She starts talking in like Pig Latin. Okay.
Ste'yn will respond in kind.
Does Beau hear
Okay.
this?
You're unless you're trying to keep it secret from Beau as well. Otherwise, you're very
I'm not
close to one
necessarily
another.
trying to keep it secret from Beau, but I'm for sure trying to not let like Nora and Moonridge hear.
You whisper.
Okay, so Viola's gonna whisper into Ste'yn and Beau's if she thinks she can whisper to both of them at the same time in Elvish without them. She's trying to not be heard by them at all, and she's just using Elvish as like a secondary precaution. But she's just gonna whisper and say, "Do you think Snow still has the crown? I'm pretty sure he was the last person to have the crown. I feel like we should be worried if the crown is in that other carriage with people who don't know about it. And I'm assuming Snow was not in the right state of mind to inform them of it."
Okay.
Ste'yn will whisper back, I don't know what happened to the crown after it was taken from me. I've been trying to keep it safe. I don't know where it went.
Should we tell him about the crown?
I think we get to that at some point. It was rather important to find down there. Beau, what do you think?
So he heard his name. I think he's just gonna look over and he's gonna be like, "What are you saying?" I mean, as far as the group knows, he never spoke Elvish.
Do you speak Elvish?
And you guys are just like whispering to one another like a chatty group of high school kids, and Nora's just letting you speak. She kind of glances at Moonridge for a moment, but
They're just
she doesn't
like
interrupt
staring
you.
No, I've never spoken Elvish.
Alright.
Why? What are you trying to say?
Ste'yn's gonna clear her throat and sit up a little bit straighter. So you just confirm for me that you had no idea whatsoever of the temple that this hovel was built upon, and that likely the temple above ground was built over either for protection or for sanctity of some sort.
You see there's a tenseness in her shoulders, like a frustration, as she shakes her head and she says, "I would never have sent a novice if a place like that existed. I still hardly believe it does, but I have no reason to suspect you're lying."
All
I'd
right.
like to insight check her.
Go for it.
Actually, can I insight check as well?
You may.
All right.
If you would like to
I'm
insight
gonna
check,
say-
now is the time. After this, no more.
I am so bad at insight.
I think Viola got the best.
I got a 2 because I have no modifiers either.
Because you're great.
Nothing like a
Can't be good at
paranoid
everything.
without any means of insight.
It's okay. He'll get it as a proficiency when he levels. And then
Maybe this
psionic
is why
dice.
you're. Maybe this is why you're so paranoid, is because you can't insight anyone. You're never sure anyone's
Aw.
intentions.
This could be true.
What a sad life. You look at her and that tenseness is obvious. Beau, you already questioned her capabilities to begin with. This doesn't surprise you really, that whether she knew or if she was lying, like neither way really surprises you. You're just like, yeah, that makes sense, whatever. The ladies observing her, her tenseness is obvious. You don't suspect that it's trying to hide anything. It seems, Viola, you notice, you seem to kind of reason out that the frustration is, in fact, that she didn't know. And this is not the first time she's mentioned, even in this series of an hour or so, that there was something that was withheld from her.
Is Moonridge giving off any vibes like he is in the know about something?
He appears to essentially be her backup. Just if she didn't know, he didn't know, because she would have otherwise told him.
Nora, what did you end up doing with Snow's things? Like I mentioned it earlier.
Then the wagon with him, with Vaughn.
You think that's separating two things, is keeping it in the exact same wagon?
What are you anticipating we'll find in that bag?
I'm not anticipating you searching the bag. I'm saying that there is potentially bad things in that bag, and he's already in a bad state.
I feel like we should just be 100% honest. I don't think either of them had any idea. Like, I feel like they're being 100% honest about not knowing what they sent us into. And I feel like the smartest thing to do right now is just be 100% honest. But I'm not going to be totally forthcoming with information if my friends do not
No,
agree
we should
with
tell the
that.
story. And Ste'yn will start detailing their adventures. What they found, what she saw, what they did.
You start recounting what happened below in this temple. And Nora's face and body language sort of go from this, again, that frustration of not knowing, to a kind of frustration of not being trusted even by her novices. But none of it is like an outward like anger. There's a very kind of that cool demeanor kind of returns. It sits outwardly like a patience, but you've already read between the lines when she sort of let that slip. She let the veneer sort of crack. And the more you go into the story, the more detail you give as you're recounting what this place looked like, the smog thing, the burning embers, the writing, the crown, the blood. She's becoming more and more outwardly cold again, that kind of reserved, as she just listens. She doesn't interrupt. She lets you just tell the entire story. And
What?
when you finish,
I was gonna ask, what details are people leaving out? Particularly Ste'yn, because Ste'yn knows more than some people. Like with the whole entire
Ste'yn's-
thing of seeing like the imp or the fiend with Viola. I don't know if she's saying anything about that. That's why I'm asking. 'Cause I don't
she
know
didn't even
if
tell
you're...
Viola that. Viola.
Yeah, I know, but she's saying we're saying she
Mhm.
said we're gonna say everything, so that's why I'm wanting clarification on if she means that much everything or just the shared experience of everything.
No, as she gets to the end of the story, because that was towards the end of it.
Yeah.
She will look over at Viola and then explain how she used a spell to try and detect an evil presence, and found one essentially sitting on her friend's shoulder.
And all eyes are back on Viola. In
Aw.
this unsettling, like, snap to attention.
What?
It is the
I was
evil...
going to tell you there had not been a time yet in which it would have been wise to do so. I still don't know if telling you at this point would have been ideal, because there's nothing we can do about it in this very moment.
Do we...
Unless if the acolyte over there
Well, do you
capable
still
of-
see it? Can you, like, I don't know,
I can cast
conjure
the
it
spell
up again and do a little checky on her?
I absolutely can.
If there's something there, we're on our way to Seika's Keep. It's back in the Peace District, and there are numerous associates there who can handle whatever it is you believe you found. And she's kind of eyeing Viola's armor. Not suspiciously, it's almost soft, as if not to instill any additional fear in Viola. She's just observing, and then she looks back and she meets your eye, Viola, and she just nods gently. Any answers that you could not find, we will find.
Though, Viola,
And you'll be fine.
I have heard if you do want to be able to do magic, that little friend of yours might be able to help you. Beau's gonna tease.
Stan's gonna reach over and probably slap Beau for that remark.
Wow.
Or try to.
Pop.
Does it
You
have to
allow
do
it,
with
Beau?
the smudge
No.
thing on my armor?
I believe it does.
Viola's just gonna take a piece of like cloth and just start rubbing it again.
Has it hurt you at all?
Not that I know of.
Then that's a good enough sign for now.
Maybe there's
Most
a
things of
mark
the
on your
dark
skin.
Well, most entities of the dark don't tend to have that kind of reservation. They're aggressive. If you've ever come across a midnight beast, they don't have that kind of tact about them. So whatever that is, I'm sure you'll be fine. I'm positive of it. And if you'd like us to look closer before we arrive, we can have Lord Vaughn do that very thing. If you'd like. Consider it done. All right. We're on our way back to Seika's Keep to make sure Snow is all right. And she pauses a moment, kind of coughs into her shoulder, reserves herself, looks back at you all.
Are you feeling all right? You keep doing that.
I'll be fine. I appreciate the concern.
Allergies.
It's just allergies.
Pollen.
Is that what she's actually saying? It's allergies.
No, but she says she will be fine.
Can I do an insight check on that? Because she
You
didn't do
may.
it during the exam. Or at least it was
You
never
may.
stated that she did it during the exam. Come on.
Did what during the exam?
Coughing. We were in
She
there
didn't
for a
cough
while.
during your exam.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. She wasn't coughing
Oh.
then, but now she's coughing. Okay, I got 13.
Better than last time.
Yep.
It is better than last time. You can tell she's choosing her words carefully. She says, I will be fine. Not that she is fine, that she will be fine. Not super inclined to go into detail, but that is what she tells you. That's what you pick up on.
Alright, well.
While that's happening, Viola's gonna take that paper, the rubbing that she did out, and hand it over to Nora and ask if she can read that.
She looks at it. She hands it to Moonridge. He looks it over. He looks up at you. So this was the writing you found down below?
Can you read it?
Some of it. Our friend in the carriage has some other pages with writing as well.
Yeah, if his pack was over here, we'd probably have it.
Snow,
Hello.
while you're laying there, give me a perception check.
That is a natural 20.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
I see everything.
It's so
I
boring.
can hear
Guys,
all the
see all.
conversation. I can hear all the conversation in the other carriage.
The carriages have begun moving again, by the way, in case I didn't mention that. You guys were
Yeah.
not sitting at a standstill. Okay, just
Oh,
wanted
that's
to make
good.
sure. You're just sitting there at a standstill and just talking. We don't need to get him to Saker's Keep, it's fine.
I'm picturing Snow's eyes kind of like a lizard. They're moving like independent of each other, just scanning everything.
I have become one with the entire area.
I am one with the universe.
Inner peace.
As you are laying there, you kind of get a peek of Lord Vaughn as he's now alone with you and your pack, and Nora had switched wagons, what I did not mention before. So this is the same guard that has been at her hip for as long
Aha.
as you guys have. If you've seen Nora, you've seen him with her. And he
Figures.
keeps looking at the door that she left out of as the wagon is continuing, looks at you. Every now and then he'll run his hand over and kind of check you. And then he pauses a moment. And it looks like he's concentrating on something. And then he goes to the pack. And he's just, it doesn't look like it's with a natural 20. It doesn't look like it's a kind of like weaseling and trying to, whatever. It's just as if given an order or a suggestion or something that you did not see or hear. And then he'll just kind of one by one begin observing the items that you had found among whatever else is in your bag. He pulls out there's like 2 books in there. He very gently and politely sets them aside.
When I see him start to go for my pack, I'm just gonna like start moaning.
He looks up again. He looks up again. Are you all right? Can you hear me? Don't worry. If anything should be happening to you, if there's nothing I can do now, at least you're not going to die. And he sort of like shakes his own head as if at his own incompetence. Not incompetence, that's not the word I meant. The capabilities of his abilities at this time. As if he wants to do more and there's only so much he can do. But he goes back to looking at the pouch. He sees the bag of rocks.
Those are my rocks, hands off.
He finds that kind of dull gray crystal. He puts those 2 items on the bench beside him. And he finds Not the axe. I think Ste'yn has the axe. It's always groups of 3, and I always forget the third one.
The marble?
The marble.
Yeah, that's always.
And the marble. And he sets those aside, not finding anything else of particular interest. He begins looking over those. Simultaneously to Beau mentioning the items in the pack and all that. We're going back and forth. There's 2 cameras. We're cutting. We're cutting back and forth. So to the other wagon. Moonridge looks over the wording, and he nods his head to you. I don't understand it, but there are words here. Gibberish of the dark. Infernal nonsense.
What words are they?
I don't think you can read them.
Oh, I can read them.
Oh, I thought you just said you couldn't.
No, I can read them.
Did I
It's just
mishear it?
gibberish. It's gibberish writing. It doesn't mean anything at all. It says some ritualistic, probably chant.
Did he actually tell us the words it said or no?
Mm-hmm. He said, offer your worth.
I mean, it was found in like an offering type bowl with ash and bits of burned gold, and considering the other things we found down there and the state of our friend right now, I wouldn't necessarily say that it's totally gibberish.
You make a fair point, my lady. At the same time, I'm not inclined to believe that anything of the dark has any sort of sensibilities to do something like this.
So you don't think they have any kind of religion set up over there?
Oh, certainly not.
Alright. So then, if this was to a god, you would have no inkling as to who?
If it were, and we're talking in these potentialities, no, there would not be a god.
Okay, so you wouldn't even call the area we're in a temple then, really?
If I were to inspect further, likely not. Probably some disgusting mimicry by some who knows what. Probably a feral on the wrong side of the lines.
What do you mean by that?
A feral? A feral that does not want to choose civilization, but rather choose darkness. They do exist. There's many of them. Far too many of them.
You don't think any, humans would do something like that? Or elves?
For what purpose?
Or anything else? Just them?
It doesn't make sense.
Okay. Sure. So, do you know exactly, what is the plan when we get back? As far as Snow, is he going to, some kind of temple-type place that's potent light energy or something? I don't know what you guys got going on over there.
And Nora speaks this time, and she nods. She says, in the Peace District, there is Seika's Keep. It is an acolyte temple. It allows for the worship of numerous gods. But there are very talented acolytes there. I've been multiple times, and they will have exactly what Snow needs. He will be incapable. And she pauses a moment. Everyone roll a perception check.
At least
You can too, Snow.
Ooh, 17.
11.
18.
14.
Okay. Beau and Ste'yn and Snow. Beau and Ste'yn, while Nora is speaking, and she also appears to notice, you do notice that the wagon is slowing again. Snow, while Vaughn is looking closer at these items that you had taken, you also notice, he appears not to, that the wagon is slowing again. Nora's turns her head. She's sitting at the wall where the driver, the one involved with the horses, and she kind of is noting, we can't possibly be there yet. Why are we stopping?
Maybe one of the drivers had to use the bathroom. I'm just
Sure.
just saying, maybe.
Maybe. Stay here. And she stands up, opens the carriage door as it now comes to a stop, and steps outside. And she closes the door behind her.
Are there windows to this wagon?
There are not, other than like a one little kind of, there's like a curtained off behind where she was sitting that leads to where the people were who lead the horses.
I was gonna go over to the door and just open it up a little bit. Not like all the way, just like a little peeky hole.
Are there
Ste'yn's going to
doors
reach
on
for her
both
mace.
sides?
Yes.
Viola's gonna do the same on the opposite side.
Viola, no, you're supposed to be the good one. All right, you both peek the doors open, and you immediately overhear conversation. You hear Nora inquisitively wondering, why did we stop? What happened? And you don't hear a response, but you can see, if you're on Nora's side of it, you can see Vaughn pointing. Viola, on your side, you almost immediately see what appears to be the problem. Your two carts, your two wagons, are stopped along this kind of trailed path. It's like a clear dirt path. It would have made sense that this ought to have been the path maybe you should have taken, but your route to get to Undra took you a different way. It wasn't nearly as clear of a road, and you can suspect that Komugal was definitely messing around with y'all a bit. In this area, it's kind of cutting through tree line, but Viola, on your side of it, you see this large patch of trees that, instead of having that kind of lush, dark bark and the deep green, slowly fading colored foliage of late summer, you see this scattering of pale, dead-looking bark. It leads up into just nothingness as these sharp, jagged branches seem to just crawl up towards the sky. The ground itself is no longer this lush, forested ground. Everywhere in that section off to the side of the road is this crumbly, pale, dead-looking earth. But what's most notable is that trailing through all of these pale trees and kind of slowly seeping off, starting to block the path. It's thinner in this area, but it's seeping into the trail you were otherwise riding on, is this dark sort of mist that's just penetrating this area. It hasn't gotten as far as where your wagons have stopped, but if you had gone much further, you would have been just catching the edges of this slowly swirling dark mist.
Sorry, I have a point of clarification.
Please.
How bright is it outside? So isn't it becoming nighttime when we were leaving?
You reminded me!
I'm sorry. I don't know how much
No,
that
that's
changes
good. I
for what
forgot.
she saw, but I realized that as you were describing it, I was like, wait, was it nighttime?
It's
Actually.
definitely dark.
I'm sorry.
Viola sees nothing.
I like your
There's a
tenacity though. Viola's just like, I'm gonna go out and
Thanks.
look. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna look into the dark. No,
Hey,
there
it could be
are
a full moon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be something for the evil temple you just left? It only appears under the full moon when the stars align.
Oh snap.
That's why they didn't see it. Guys, DM moment. That's what it is. Full moon. Drop it. Done. No, your carriage and the people who had left the carriage, the ones who were controlling the horses and Vaughn, have torches
Okay.
that can see at least a bit out. So you can see where those tendrils are coming. But yeah, maybe a little further out you didn't see. But the paleness of the bark you would see even in the dark.
So Viola immediately pulls her head back in and reiterates to them what she's just seen.
Is Snow by himself in a wagon now?
He is.
Is the door
Poor
closed?
Snow. Left them all alone.
Is the door
You-
closed to my wagon?
Yours is not. Vaughn exited. He did not close.
So I
Can
can
Beau
see that as
see
well if
that
I
the
look.
door is open to his kid?
Sure.
Like, I don't know which side. I don't know if they're like right next to each other. So like I'm picturing it something like this, We're in
Are
this
they
one, he's
parallel
in
parks?
this
They're not
one.
quite side by side. Yours
Okay.
yours was a little bit behind.
Yeah.
So his being further ahead, you could see.
Okay,
that
so
the
it's
door
the
was
door on
open.
that side. Okay, cool.
We'll say they're side by side, and like this is you guys, and this is them, and then it's these middle doors that opened, and there you go. But you do see Nora backs up, and then there's this kind of hushed moment of conversation with her and Vaughn and Moonridge. We'll say he stepped out as well because you guys are starting to peek. We'll let you do
Okay.
that in private. We'll say he stepped out as well. So the three of them have a brief conversation before they turn back towards the wagons. And you just hear Nora saying, "We'll have to find another way. We need to get out of here." To which she sees the doors are open. You don't listen a moment, do you?
I mean, he only had to open a crack. She saw that little crack? He had
I
it
thought
like
you were
open. No, he had to
opening the
open.
door.
No, I said he opened it a crack, and he wanted to know if he could see that
You can
Snow's
you
carriage
can see a
is
crack.
open.
Yeah,
I'm just
you can see
saying.
a crack.
I'm just saying.
Viola poked her head out, but she's on the other
Viola's
side.
just like, huh?
so-
Either way, she heads back towards the wagon. Viola, I would also have you give me a perception check. And no, you do not need to do it at disadvantage despite the dark. Wow!
It doesn't matter if it's disadvantage or not.
Cool!
One.
Rip.
All right. Thank you for that.
Just
That's all.
living
That's
in
all.
my
That's
own
fine.
happy little world with my little human friend.
Beans are
Um,
not friends.
Like, could
She-
be.
Mhm. Nora goes back to the wagon that the three of you are in, and she calmly tells you, "We're going to find another way around."
That's a smart idea.
We came by another path when we came here. This one's much more straightforward.
Why would you take another?
I think you know
'Cause
the answer.
Your skilled guy gave us a map that told us to go that way.
He jokes too much, and I hope it did not get him in enough trouble.
Well, speaking of, you said the other person. You said they got jumped, right?
Yes.
Did they follow this road, or do you think he followed his map road?
They would have no reason to take a ridiculous route around. Of course they would have taken this road.
Okay, well,
Go
if
on.
they took this road, don't you think that it seems a bit odd that there's this?
She... As you're saying that, when she's saying of course, it's more like a ball dropping. Oh. You know, she's realizing what point you've just made.
Come on, Noah, get with them.
Get with it, listen! And then she coughs again. not well.
On our next tale.
You hear them talking about a sword. It clearly belongs to Kalain. You then hear a terrified, pained shout.
Don't cross over to that mist area. Stay out of that.
She's going to move to be standing just outside of the wagon.
And she's gonna pull out her crossbow.
Snow is gonna panic for his free action.
It screams, screeches, and spits right in your direction.
As a bonus action, can she toss Beau the coin?
It's all right. Go. Take care of him.
You hear another sudden set of these phlegmy, deep, guttural screams.